Right, so if you don't know the current situation with Huawei smartphones, well, firstly, where have you been? But if you are, let's say, slightly out of the loop, then they've had some minor issues from a software point of view due to trade sanctions between the US and China, resulting in, of course, a kind of forced breakdown between Huawei and Google. No Google services, Play Store, etc. But we might just have found the perfect solution. But this is not the only thing I'm going to be discussing in this video. I also have here the brand new Huawei P50 Pro, and I'm going to be showing you what happened in the quick unboxing and give you my review after a few days use, how I've got on with it. And if that's not all, I'm also going to be delving into Huawei's inner trade secrets. Stuff that I found out at MWC about what they've got cooking under the hood. What's happening for them behind the scenes so that they can try and conquer the tech world. And it's pretty shocking, the developments. Subscribe if you're new, and let's crack on. So as mentioned, I have the new Huawei P50 Pro, Huawei's very latest premium flagship phone, to take on the likes of the Samsung S22 Ultra, iPhone 13 Pro Max, etc. Now the unboxing experience is actually surprisingly fairly basic. Phone, a silicon case, charging cable and charging brick, which in this case uses Huawei's 66-watt supercharged technology. But it all feels a little bit budget. But that is just realised Dot is up there. That could have been catastrophic. Catastrophic? Cat. Oh, stop it. Sorry, Dots. Why are you giving me the cold shoulder? Love you. Yeah, she knows. But this is where the no thrills experience ends, because this phone is absolutely stunning. Yes, of course, a lot of the aesthetics appeal of a smartphone is subjective, like the camera module design, for example, which I'm not a massive fan of and does kind of get a little bit in the way when you're resting your index finger sometimes. But in terms of sheer build quality and components, a couple of things aside, this thing is almost impeccable. At least for the last few years, you'd be hard-pushed to find somebody that could argue that the hardware on Huawei devices across the board is not right at the top. I mean, true excellence. Under the hood, however, there are three main compromises, and I'm not just talking software. The first is due to its form factor. Because it is so sleek, we don't simply have enough room for a massive battery cell. So we are sitting here with a 4,360 mAh capacity. This is not massive compared to other competitors out there of a similar ilk. However, with this phone, as I often find with Huawei handsets, the performance supersedes the capacity expectation. I usually take my phone off charge around 7 AM, and as you can see, by just before 3 PM, I'm at 35%. Without a charge, with fairly heavy use, I generally get to around 6 o'clock before I need to charge. It's no iPhone 13 Pro Max, but it's decent. The second main compromise is a result of the trade sanctions, but again, I'm not talking software. As a direct consequence of the US sanctions on 5G technology, Huawei are unable to include a 5G SoC, the likes of the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 for example. So they've had to settle for last year's flagship chip, the Snapdragon 888, but kind of a modified version without the 5G. Still incredibly powerful for day-to-day tasks, but if 5G technology is essential for you, or you feel that paying top dollar, because this thing ain't cheap, warrants the very latest high-end chip, then this is a compromise. But the biggest compromise of all regarding these restrictions has, up to now, over the last couple of years, been software. The ball and chain that has held back Huawei phones, and it's been painful to watch because I am personally a massive fan of Huawei phones, have been for quite a few years, but I haven't really looked at Huawei smartphones since the Mate 40 Pro. So is there anything new? Has the situation changed at all? Well, I am told by Huawei that a lot is happening behind the scenes to improve the user experience. But is that enough? Well, I can say the software on the P50 Pro is new, exciting, unique, and frustrating. Just like when all the screens go off when you're trying to record and it's better? Yeah, so new, exciting, unique, and frustrating, but it's certainly not dull. The phone is running Huawei's MUI 12 using HMS, or Huawei mobile services. Now, people will tell you because of that, there's no point in buying a new Huawei smartphone. There's no Google, you can't get proper apps, but that's not entirely true. As you can see on my home screen, I have basically all the apps that I need, including my Google exploits. And here's how I did it. Firstly, you have Phone Clone. This allows you to transfer all of the apps from your old phone to your new phone. And on the whole, they work pretty much exactly the same. Now, the ones that aren't compatible or don't work once you've done this are pretty much generally the Google ones. So you can delete those for now. Next, I went to Huawei's app gallery to download a few more. This app gallery is growing month by month, but it still didn't provide me with the Google apps that I needed. This may not be a concern for you, or if you just wanted Gmail, for example, you can already sync up your Gmail account with Huawei's Mail app, and it works completely fine. So you don't necessarily need the Gmail app. You still get your Gmail account to work on your Huawei phone. But for me, who needs apps like YouTube Studio, for example, I know it's niche because I'm a YouTube content creator, but if you need those sort of apps, then I downloaded G-Space. Now, this is an app which appears to lead Google services related apps into thinking your Huawei phone, your P50 Pro, for example, is an older Huawei device, one that was compatible with Google apps. YouTube, Google Photos, Google Maps, even though Huawei's Petal Maps actually looks great, and banking apps, etc., are all now available to use. You can create shortcuts for these newly downloaded apps within G-Space directly to your home screen if you want, and you can also use G-Space as a kind of shortcut directly to the Google Play Store. And from there, you can search for pretty much any app that's available on the Play Store, just like you would on any normal Android phone. Now, G-Space does come with ads originally. You can either let that happen or you can pay to get rid of them. I think it's something like $1.99 a month or $15 for the whole duration. Now, full disclaimer, even though G-Space has appeared to have been around for quite a while now and has, from what it looks like, decent feedback, you're still putting your trust in a third-party developer. And obviously, even though probably you are currently putting your faith in Apple, Google, Facebook, those sorts of companies with all of your information, you still have to know the risks. Also, again, full disclosure on this, I have found when using G-Space that sometimes the apps can be slightly unresponsive. I have to sometimes double tap an app for it to open, for example. It's not terrible by any means, and it's given me the ability to use this phone pretty much like I would any other Android device, but after a while that may begin to grate. I don't know. I've had absolutely no problems using this phone, but then I like the idea of customizing. I weirdly get kind of joy in problem solving, and you might too, then great, but you might not have the time to do that, you might not want to do that, or you might not be able to do that. When we have so many options available on the market, is this compromise necessary? Only you can answer that, because every phone has its compromises. The iPhone 13 Pro Max, for example, notch, comically wide, and even iOS itself might be a compromise for you. The Samsung S22 Ultra, the debate between the chipsets, Exynos, Snapdragon, depending on your region, the slower charging speeds compared to some of its competitors, again, might be compromises for you. So every phone has its pros and cons. So if this Google workaround doesn't put you off, or you only use YouTube and can use YouTube Advanced, for example, available on the Huawei app gallery, or download other apps that you need from the inbuilt Petal search feature, the Huawei P50 Pro could still be an excellent option for you, especially when you look at the rest of the phone. The 6.6-inch 120Hz OLED display is an edge-to-edge beauty. The IP68 rating and IR blaster are expected at this level and a nice addition for some, and the stereo speakers are quite simply awesome. But above all, the P series phones have been famed for an industry-leading camera. I've often found with Huawei smartphones they can overexpose highlights like skies, etc. And yes, this can sometimes be true again with the P50 Pro. Likewise, they can sometimes be slightly a bit all over the place when it comes to color temperature, especially when switching between lenses. And I seriously don't get why you need an aperture mode and a portrait mode in the app when they do a pretty similar thing, and like other manufacturers could definitely be merged into one to make the app more streamlined. But outside of that, just take a look at some of the shots you can get. The details in some of the images are incredible. You have 4 lenses to play around with, a 50 megapixel primary wide, 30 megapixel ultra wide, 40 megapixel monochrome sensor, and a 64 megapixel telephoto with 3.5 optical zoom, 100 times total zoom. The AI helps to provide pictures that are not only really nice and sharp with decent dynamic range, slight blown out skies aside sometimes, and there's a really nice blend between being not too oversaturated but still providing images that really pop. Huawei were one of the first companies to introduce insane low-light improvements around the P20 series, and granted other manufacturers have caught up, but this is still right at the top of the game. So there are definitely areas of the P50 Pro that feel industry-leading, but also a couple that feel a little bit clunky, a bit of an afterthought. The question is the smartphone the main focus for Huawei anymore? And from what I can see and what I found out at MWC when I went there, the answer is yes and no, because Huawei are looking at phone development from a slightly different angle now. At MWC, I got the chance to speak to members of the Huawei Inner Circle, those working behind the scenes, and I picked their brains on the future goals of the company, and it was very apparent, despite the hardships they've been through, they aren't going anywhere. But also where most manufacturers see the phone as the central cog in the ecosystem, Huawei are more looking at it from it's one of many. It's a cog, but not necessarily the cog. And they're looking to redefine focusing on the PC as that. I witnessed firsthand the prowess of linking their new tablets to their Mate Station X, for example, which I might add looks absolutely incredible, by the way, like an astonishing bit of kit, and they just work so seamlessly together. There's definitely a possible future where Huawei, like Apple for example, just simply provide an alternative ecosystem software space, one rough platform to service multiple devices, so they're not relying so heavily on outsourced pieces for their harmonious integration. Harmony OS. I mean, you just can't write this. Just beautiful. Laptops like the new MateBooks, tablets, monitors, as well as earbuds, smartwatches, and their smartphones all working as one, like a super device guiding you through the day. You jot something down on your phone, an alarm for example, and you'll be notified of that alarm on whatever device you're actually using currently. And likewise, if you're looking for a file on your tablet, you're searching for it and it tells you which device in your ecosystem that file is located on. These are all the little ideas to hopefully improve your day-to-day experience when it comes to using tech, so you're never out of the loop. And I suppose this is kind of every manufacturer's end goal within their ecosystems, but I feel that Huawei are very far along in that idea. They've had to be due to the obvious setbacks they've had. The app gallery is continuing to grow, not only on phone, but plans for cross-platform as well, with the offer of better value for money on games, for example, and you can download from the app gallery on any other Android phone to receive these perks, which could be key. This in turn will encourage developers to create more apps, more users, more apps. The cycle continues. Could I see myself fully engaging in the Huawei super device idea? Absolutely. It sounds terrific. But do I need slightly more development from a software point of view in the pocket computer element to that super device? Probably. Watch this space. Speaking of Pocket, I will hopefully be getting my hands on the P50 Pocket, the first flip foldable phone from Huawei, so subscribe for that. Follow my other social medias to continue the conversation and get breaking tech news. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and check out some of my other videos that I've done that you might want to watch. I don't know anymore. It's been a long video, so I'm probably going to end it there. I love you, Levy. I'll see you in the next one. ASBYT, peace out.